For this week's mini presentation, I decided to tackle exam question 41, which involves situated cognition, the good old-fashioned AI approach, biorobotics, and morphological computation, as well as the behavioral-based approach in robotics. I hope you guys enjoy. The situated cognition movement was influenced by the dynamical systems theory, which reviews cognitive systems as coupled systems and constantly looking at the internal and external states, constantly updating what behaviors to possibly do in real time instead of making simplified representations for all the behaviors and actions that a robot might take. The systems need to be properly embodied and have autonomy in environments resembling the real world with ambiguous and complex contexts, instead of a refined world like we see in the good old-fashioned AI approach. There's a direct link between perception and action, and there is no central planner. The goal of situated cognition is to develop systems that don't have built-in solutions, or rather they can perform the basic sensory and motor processes prerequisite to intelligent problem solving. One thinking about the situated cognition movement, we should compare that to the good old-fashioned AI approach, which is more focused on simplifying the agent's environment in using the physical system symbol systems approach, whereas situated cognition uses the dynamical systems approach and focuses more on independence and autonomy, not simplified responses. Shridlu existed in a microworld stripped of all complexities and challenge and is not responsive. It's not autonomous. It's only responsive to explicit instructions, and you can't really ask it anything else, only about this small realm of blocks and pyramids and boxes. So hence Shridlu would not be a situated cognitive agent. Shaky is designed to navigate its environment and solve problems. Shaky's world is already programmed and defined through a few basic terms, with the motor repertoire being built from smaller movements, and the robot works out a sequence of these basic movements to fill a command. However, it has to exist in a highly constrained environment and just can't exist in any old room or building. It has to be in a predefined room. So hence, Shaky lacks that autonomy feature of situated cognitive agents and wouldn't qualify as one. One thinking about the situated cognition movement, we should also turn to the behavior-based approach to robotics, which means that complex behaviors don't need to be explicitly defined within behavior-based. They emerge from the operations and interactions of lower-level behaviors with no symbolic central planner, with real-time functioning and constantly updating distributed representations and the decomposition of behaviors, as we can see, where it's not sensors to this, to that, to that, to that, to that, to actuators. It's sensors to all these lower-level behaviors, then to the actuators. And an example would be looking at Toto, where it explores and maps its environment, future plans, and execution of the shortest and most efficient paths. It has 3 layers: a reactive layer, a landmark detection layer, and then the third layer constructs distributed maps, hence adding to the distributed representations. And with hence creating a topological map, and it's only asking if the landmarks are connected with no distance information, which basically makes it more flexible while updating its map. When thinking about situated cognition, we need to think about morphological computation, which takes advantage of natural intelligence, which are clever solutions that exploit direct connections between sensory receptors and their effector limbs, and organisms can exploit body shape to simplify complex problems, and the more clever the body use, the less need for a more powerful brain. And these ideas from morphological computation can be applied with biorobotics. An example from nature could be seen in the crickets. Think about it like this: in their legs, they can sense sound, or females can sense sound and vibrations from the males and find them. And this doesn't really need to be all through the brain. It just needs to be through vibrations in the ground, which are a lot simpler. And here's a good quote to add to the powerful morphological computation. It says, "We need to look at humans as scaled up insects, not as scaled down supercomputers." Jerry Voger. Now that we have an idea of morphological computation, we can turn to biorobotics, which involves incorporating as much computation as possible directly into the robot's physical structure. So an example from the morphological computation slide would be how crickets used their legs to sense vibrations and find males for mating. But this can be recreated in a robot, where we basically build robots that mimic this cricket phonotaxics, sensory to reel to motor to wheel, and hence moving it towards the mate. Another example would be Wanda, which is a robot that can wiggle only its tail fin and hence only 1 degree of freedom, but the morphological computation allows Wanda to carry out a full range of fish motions. And with that in mind, that is my presentation.